The year is 1908, and French cartoonist Emile Cole has just finished his 7,000th frame of painted glass to create this. A procession of images to give an illusion of movement. Phantasmagoria was the first animation. This 59-second creation sparked an ongoing legacy that has done so much more than just entertain. So I stand here today to remind everyone how truly awe-inspiring animation is and to provide a new perspective, my perspective. My earliest memory of drawing was this. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a princess. But since I was little, I've always had a passion for art. I took the school's mandatory art classes without much interest past it being a hobby because I was so certain that I was going to be a neurosurgeon, but I still drew every single day. I was crafting characters and stories for hours. I was transferring worlds I was building inside my head and hoping everything would just come off the page and come to life. I also love movies, and one day I finally asked myself how all these inhuman creations were made. These animations weren't people, but they were made by people. So I've made my commitment since then and have been accepted into the Savannah College of Art and Design to pursue a career in 2D animation. Thank you. And I know if my younger self knew that my favorite hobby was now my greatest passion and future career, she might explode. But when I say the word animation, a few things may come to mind. This pop culture is a result of the imaginative nature of artists. Artists who take the time to observe the world around themselves to make animation happen. And for context, animation has done so much more than provide visually appealing and entertaining works. See the following. World War II, 1939. Walt Disney and Chuck Jones are enlisted by the US Navy alongside their team of artists to make propaganda for the war, which was not only more effective by heightening the threat through visual imagery, enhancing the reality of the situation, and villainizing the other side, but it was done so in an entertaining manner. Popular characters like Donald Duck would sport the US Navy uniform, or Minnie Mouse would be seen saving bacon grease from her pants to make explosives for war, or Bugs Bunny would be singing on a stage about war bonds. And taking these characters, as they were the most popular during the 40s, pushed Americans to support the war effort. And both artists left a remarkable contribution to a worth currently $350, oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke, $350 billion industry. And I want you to ask yourself, why did the Navy resort to animation to convince an audience of something so crucial to the well-being of our country? Right? It seems silly. But you see next the revival of Broadway. Broadway's popularity had steadily declined and would have had a delayed comeback if it had not been for the release of a few animated films during the 90s. Audiences experienced an unexpected boredom with live stage theater until Walt Disney's musical film, Beauty and the Beast, which astounded audiences nationwide. And trailing closely behind was the release of Aladdin and The Lion King, all of which were transformed into Broadway shows. And these shows sparked inspiration in artists to create some of the most popular musicals to date, such as Wicked, Hamilton, and Hadestown, and a ton of other shows returned to the stage for a second chance. Broadway currently makes an estimated $1.5 billion in revenue because animation was able to influence an industry so different in similarities. It can alter these historical events, create some of the most famous cartoons and artists to date, and forever change entertainment. But how? Well, it's us. We're humans. We express our individuality through animation. We relate to these inhuman humanoid creations because they are reflective of our ambitions and of our struggles. Animation is a man-made concept, and the only thing we have to grasp inspiration from is our very existence. And that connection is more important than we think. As an aspiring animator, I've realized I can make anything by stopping to observe the little details of life. This was my first animation. Woo! And little quirks that we give to characters that we create originate from stereotypes built within our society. But wouldn't we rather be recognized for our individuality? When I consume animated content, I hope to find a character I relate to. I hope to see my flaws so I can recognize and reflect on who I am. And I hope to see my best qualities so I can feel proud of myself and with the choices I make. And when I find a character I relate to, it makes me feel seen. And for me, normalizing eccentrics, open-mindedness, brutal honesty, stubbornness, and neurodivergence through an animated narrative reminds me that I'm human. But some people rarely or never get that privilege. Controversies within the industry revolve around the representation of certain groups within an animated narrative. A minority is still a significant number of people, and exclusion removes the point of using animation in the first place. You've probably heard of the forced diversity debate, where organizations mandate the inclusion of certain groups based on factors like race, ethnicity, disability groups, or being of the LGBTQ+ community. And it all ties back to relevancy. World War II and the revival of Broadway were only a few of the most influential events pertaining to animation's history. It was important. It was a necessity to gain a deeper connection and invoke emotions that unmoving art cannot give. And a desire to progress our inclusivity remains rooted in the audience because we are the ones depicted in this art form. And that passion is a part of current events within our lives. And we attempt to avoid discrimination in the real world, so why on earth would we seek it out in these imaginative spaces? But then that's just it, right? It's an imaginary space. And the only limitations to animation is how far a creative team is willing to experiment and explore. I would like to showcase something that I took the time to animate. I took an audio segment from Jack Stauber's We See You, Opal to make this.
We see you, Opal, your troubles are miles away. We see you, Opal, and in our eyes you'll stare.
Art and animation has always been my passion and an outlet of self-expression. So I would like you to think of how animation has impacted you. Whether it was visually appealing, or maybe it was deeply emotional and it resonated with you. Whether it was a film, a show, or a video game, you felt something special. I want to leave behind a narrative, a message through my art that reflects the life I have lived and the lives of millions. Because we are connected, we are unique, and we should always appreciate the endless possibilities of animation. Thank you.